one of my coworkers was giving us, telling stories. And while she was talking about Lydia, I saw her walk across the hallway to the room on the other side of the hallway. And then I peeked around the wall to see if I could see her in that room. And I didn't.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Exploring the Unknown. I'm Dustin.
I'm Luke.
And we are your hosts with the most ghosts. Today, we had an amazing interview with Cori. She's a historian over at the Red Onion Saloon in Skagway, Alaska. This was a really cool interview because I seen it on TV one day. What was I watching? I can't remember what I was watching. It was like
the Alaskan Triangle.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it was. And I thought, why can't we reach out to somebody on one of these shows just to see if we can't get them on the podcast? And lo and behold, gave them a call and they directed me to Cori. And Cori was nice enough to come on and talk to us about the history and the encounters that they've had over there at the saloon, which used to be a brothel at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy events happening over there. Got to hear a little bit about Lydia's story.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun episode.
Definitely. What do you want to jump right into it?
Let's do it.
Hey, good morning. Sorry about that. We was having a little issues getting it to go through.
Oh, no worries. My phone is really weird too sometimes.
Yeah, so how you doing today?
Well, it's still early here, so far so good.
That's good. I'm curious, what time is it there?
It's 8 a.m.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, that is early.
Yeah.
It's 12 o'clock for us. I don't know that I was even up at 8 a.m. I think I was up at like 10
hours.
Well, lucky you. I actually don't sleep that late. I'm an early person.
Yeah, I'd like to be, but our job unfortunately makes it so that I'm up later.
Yeah, you were saying that your custodial work like at night?
Yeah.
Oh, that would suck. For me, I'm not a night person.
I'm
a baby?
I guess.
Yeah, it's mine. I have to mute my mic every once in a while because she makes some noises.
Sorry, say that again. You cut out for a minute.
Yeah, she's my 2-year-old, so she walks around and makes some noises.
Oh, cute. That's fun to try and keep up after a 2-year-old.
Yeah. Do you have any kids?
Oh no, I don't. I'm an auntie to many and a mother to none, which is the best way for me to be. But I do have animals.
Yeah.
You may hear them soon. I've got a dog who's very much like a toddler. She's very demanding.
I got one that's just like that. I understand.
She's our special needs dog, we call her.
Oh.
She really is. She takes a lot, but never. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know that I think I told you my name. My name's Dustin. This is Luke.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Hi, Luke.
There.
I haven't met you yet.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
You too.
But yeah, so tell us a little bit about the saloon and how you got involved with that.
Okay. So I was just thinking about this morning. I should have thought of it earlier. In 1 month, I will be at the saloon because currently I'm not there. But if you guys did want to do sort of a different podcast or another podcast, sometimes in the saloon when I've recorded podcasts in the past, you can hear EVPs in the background, which is always fascinating because we never know what the ghosts are going to say. Sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's really freaky. Yeah, just food for thought for if you do want to add on to this later on.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that would be
I'll be there for
amazing.
2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it's actually what we could do if you wanted, because I'll be opening up the museum at that time, is we could do a Skype tour, like a video tour through the museum, and I can talk about all the stuff in there, and that might give you a better sense of the place, but also sometimes the ghosts do pop up on the recordings, which is kind of fun.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we would love to do that. Maybe we can, after this, we can schedule something.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll only be there for 2 weeks. But anyway, so the saloon. Okay, so back to the saloon. So I moved to Skagway a long time ago. Skagway is a small town in rural Alaska, but it is also the start of the Klondike. It's where the Klondike Gold Rush. Let me start over. It's early. I haven't had quite enough coffee yet.
That's okay.
So the Klondike Gold Rush, which happened in 1897, up in the Dawson City gold fields in the Yukon, that the way people got there was primarily coming through Skagway. So Skagway was a boom town from 1898 to about 1900, with thousands and thousands of people passing through every year on their way to and from the Klondike goldfields. This is not a trek for the faint of heart. It was, I think it's 500. I'll have to look at the exact miles. It's been a while since I've had to recall this, but it would take them months to get there. It's roughly over 500 miles. And they would get there via land. They'd have to hike over the Chilkoot Pass, the Chilkoot Trail, which is a 35-mile trail, which then dumps you out at Lake Bennett, and then they'd have to build a boat and get on the Yukon water system that would then float them up to Dawson City. So lots of peril and adventure, and very few people actually made it or struck it rich in the gold fields. At this time in the United States, there was a recession happening, and so people were mad with gold fever, and they were just willing to try anything to be able to make a go of it. So please stop me, because I can go on and on and on.
No, you're doing great.
Rein me in. I go off on tangents. So I moved to Skagway roughly 7 years ago now. And I am very fond of history, and especially that era of history. And so I was fortunate enough to get a job working at the Red Onion Saloon as their curator for the museum, and I do the costumes. I'm a costume designer, also specifically historical fashion. And my specialty happens to be Victorian corsetry, which, here we go. I end up in this quaint little Victorian town, working for the next, I'm still working there. I just go twice a year instead of living there. So that's how I got there. And luckily, the owner of the Red Onion, she had this amazing dress that was in a case above the bar. And this is back when bars were smoking. And I just kept talking to her and like, you need to let me put that dress in a better case. Like, that is a very rare dress. It's very unusual, and it's not being stored very well. And you want it to last longer, let me help you. And also I was like, hey, I'm an amazing seamstress. I can do costumes for you. And so she hired me actually, first of all, to do costumes for her. In a small town, you have a handful of people who have a handful of skills, and we wear a lot of different hats. So I was really fortunate to be able to do that there. So I started making the costumes for her, and then eventually I ended up being a tour guide as well. So I told the stories every day, and I was up in our museum every day. So I don't know if I've told you this, but our museum is a former brothel. So during the gold rush, quite often, if you had a 2-story building, it meant downstairs was some sort of business and upstairs was extra business. And the Red Onion Saloon happened to be one of the most expensive and nicer brothels in town. And for such a tiny town, and currently it's a tiny town of roughly just over 1,000 people, but during the gold rush, at any given time, there was 30,000 people living in this valley and transiting through back and forth. So it was quite, like, if you ever look at photos, it was like mud streets, and they clear cut the hills for lumber to build stuff, and it was pretty amazing. And cruise ships came there back then, and they're still coming today, which is really fun. But so the Red Onion was a gold rush saloon that is, let's see, how can I tell you about this? Do you want me to tell you about like what it was then, or kind of what it is now? Which is kind of both.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to give its history leading up to what it is today.
Okay. So the Red Onion Saloon was back then a saloon and dance hall downstairs, and upstairs was a brothel. And the way that our brothel was built, it housed 10 women, 5 girls on each side of a long hallway. So there's a long, narrow hallway that divides the upstairs 5 rooms. So back then, the gentleman would come into the saloon. He would belly up to the bar. He would, order a couple shots of liquid courage. And then behind the bartender, he would see a row of 10 dolls. And each of the dolls was made to represent one of the ladies that worked upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
So he would choose his doll by her, hair color, eye color, dress color, his favorite gal. And then he would go upstairs and, do the thing.
Right.
You're going to edit a lot of this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if this is a family-friendly show or what, but anyway.
Looks mixture.
So with the kid in the background, I love it.
Yep.
We call those brothel sprouts.
Oh, gee.
So anyway, so that's what it was back then. And there was a madam who ran the brothel portion of it. Now, the madam was the businesswoman who looked after the girls, made sure they were fed and clothed well, and had various skills and medical checkups and fed, that sort of thing. So anyway, from what we can determine, forward, and then through the years, so Skagway was a boomtown for 2 years, and basically business died around 1900. Boomtown from 1898 to 1900, because the gold fields kind of moved on through different parts of Alaska, and they also found easier routes to get to the Klondike gold fields. There was a train, there was a land route through Canada, and there was the Yukon River steamship up to Nome, Yukon River, different routes. So the building then became various things throughout the years. And in 1978, the current owner purchased the building, and it was a gift shop at that time. And she decided to turn it sort of back into what it was. It took her quite a few years to do this. It started with the saloon downstairs, which has the original wood floors, with a few pieces replaced because, they're 100 and, what year is it? 125 years old.
Yeah.
And then there's the original bar that was in the building, on one side with the original mirrors, which is absolutely beautiful. And then there was a replica bar built to kind of extend the bar space.
Mm-hmm.
So she turned it into a bar, and over the years has sort of developed it and built a staircase that's more accessible and things like this. Originally, when she bought the building, she actually lived upstairs in what is now our museum, formerly the brothel. But it wasn't accessible to code for guests to go up there or anything like that. In about 2000, I think it was, she turned it back into a museum. Was it 2000? I think it was 2000. So throughout the years, a few things have been changed. Walls have been moved, just for accessibility of showing people through the museum. There is some of the original wallpaper still up there, lots of artifacts that were found in the building, lots of artifacts that were added to the building.
Mm-hmm.
And with that comes some presences. So over the years, we've had, mediums come through on tours, or we've had psychics, things like that. And people tell us different things. So what I've been able to figure out over the years is that for a while we thought there was like one entity, one ghost living in the building. It turns out there's multiple, and also there's multiple that go through. They don't. This is new to me, moving to Skagway in my early 20s. That ghosts can transition through a space. They don't necessarily, or this is what I've learned, they're not necessarily stuck to that specific spot, or they're not necessarily around all the time. I don't know how this works, honestly.
Different realms.
Sorry?
Different dimensions. There's a lot of theories. There's like different dimensions where they can go through and stuff like that.
Right. So we have one main ghost that we talk about on every tour. She's kind of our celebrity, and her name is Lydia. And from what we've learned, based on things that she's shown us, and by us I mean, so the us is not just me, it's various tour guides that have been working there throughout the years. So the stories that I'm going to share with you are a composite of other people's experiences with her.
Okay.
So what we've learned was that she was more than likely a woman who worked in the brothel. I'm going to back up for a second here.
Mm-hmm.
So often what happened during the gold rush is, women didn't come up to Alaska thinking, hey, I'm going to go into prostitution. Some did, not everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But to live in Skagway back in 1898, the cost of living was approximately $6 a day, but working a respectable job, you could only earn $3 a day. And a respectable job was something like a cook, a laundress, a seamstress, that sort of thing. And so often women, to survive, would go into the world's oldest profession, because there was roughly 300 women in this community at any given time, and there was 15,000 men transitioning through. So there was potential to make an income, with these lonely gentlemen. And so often women would end up just trying to make ends meet by working in prostitution. And there was various forms of prostitution in Skagway back then. And I do need to preface, prostitution has never been legal in Alaska, but it was tolerated during the gold rush. Because if you kept the men happy, they were less likely to kill each other. There was a lot of murder and mayhem that happened during those times too.
Yeah.
A lot of scoundrels. So,
Right.
From what we've gathered, Lydia was a respectable woman prior to working at the Red Onion, but she couldn't make ends meet. And so she came to work at the Red Onion Saloon, and my house just made a really awesome noise right at that moment as I'm talking about Lydia. Love that. And so she comes to work at the Red Onion, and from what we've gathered, she probably ended up with an STI. And back then, they weren't as easily treatable as they are now. And so that when you had a disease like that, obviously working in this profession would make it very difficult, and nobody's going to want to touch you. And so often what happened was women, if they couldn't get out to get medical help, then they would end up taking their own lives because they're basically shamed into being an untouchable.
Yeah.
And that's what we think happened to Lydia, because a former tour guide, we also call our tour guides madam, so I might accidentally flip back and forth between that. But our former tour guide saw her hanging in a specific part of the brothel, and she showed this tour guide where she had hung herself. And it is a spot, I'm getting chills just talking about this. It is a spot that she does occasionally still show up in. People have been able to capture her on camera. Used to be on film, now it's digitally. I never personally talk about what she looks like because I don't want people to be able to go in. I want them to show me what they saw, or what they see, not make it up, if that makes sense. What I will say is she does look like a proper Victorian lady. She is said to walk the halls still. Sometimes you hear her little boots clacking around on the floor upstairs if you're downstairs. Sometimes if you're up there and you think you're by yourself and you hear the footsteps and you think, oh, maybe a coworker is here. No, you turn around and there's nobody there. That's just Lydia hanging out.
Yeah.
She does tend to like most women. She's obviously not that fond of men. So she does tend to harass the men a little bit more, but she will let the ladies know that she's around. She does like, here's one of the best things. So we have to clean up there. It gets very dusty, and so once a week, a couple times a week actually, the tour guides go through and they dust and they vacuum and things like that. There's a carpet in Lydia's room, and if you don't sing while you're using the vacuum, sometimes the vacuum blows up on you. Like it stops working and shoots dust out the wrong way. And we've gone through countless different vacuums, and the only time it works is if the tour guide, is singing to her. So now, as part of the welcome package, when I give my orientation to the new tour guides, I'm always like, if you're cleaning up here, please sing to her. It'll make your life a lot easier. She likes the singing. So with Lydia being a woman, not that much, she was a regular gal in her living life. Now in death, she's kind of got notoriety because we talk about her all the time, and she likes us to talk about her. From the sense I get from her, is she likes people learning about her story and hearing about what women kind of went through back then. And because I'm telling you this because we've had people get really mean, and we've had some people offer exorcisms, have basically yelled at us for not releasing this ghost into the great beyond. We've gotten letters about it, emails. Like the first time I did one of the ghost shows, we got all kinds of hate mail telling us we're awful people for not releasing her into the great beyond. But here's the thing. She doesn't want to be. She is famous. She's infamous in as a ghost at the Red Onion. Like, we talk about her thousands of times a day. And my sense is she likes it. So we're not going to do that. I'm certainly not going to do that. If I felt like she wanted to go, absolutely. But she doesn't seem to want to. We do also get nice people who sent, like, we had this one fellow, oh, it was so sweet. One winter, he sent us a teddy bear and this beautiful letter that he had heard about Lydia, and he just felt like she needed to have some company. So he sent a teddy bear for her. And we leave that teddy bear in the brothel for her. And we talk about, I don't know if the girls talk about it anymore on the tour, but I tell them about it every year. So we do have those beautiful, we have those beautiful moments too about this.
Yeah, that's really sweet.
It's really sweet. It's certainly that one act of kindness really makes up for all the negative stuff that we get told.
Yeah.
So the moral of this lesson is be kind.
Yeah. Always.
Always. Okay, so what else can I tell you? What else do you want to know?
Is there... I'm sorry, Luke. Looks like you had a question.
No, I'm just adjusting my chair.
Okay. Is there... we got wheelie chairs now. Those it's hard to keep still in them.
Oh my God, I love a wheelie chair. I've got one in my studio. That's all I use. The best. You never have to stand up.
That's it. But is there any historical or archival evidence that support any of the information you just told us?
This is a great question, and not that we have been able to find. So back then, Lydia was probably not her real name. The people weren't, there wasn't really a proper census because it was so transitional. And the way you got your name in the paper or on court records was if you appeared in front of a judge. And then quite often the correct name wouldn't have been given. So we haven't been able to find any sort of information about her in that way. What we have found, the information we know is what she has shown us.
Yeah. Okay.
Throughout the years. Yeah. It's very factual.
Yeah.
I can't even say that. It's just based on what she's shown us.
Right.
There's not even a joke to be made there. Yeah.
Oh, I had another question here. I wrote down a few of them.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you had said any, but have you had any personal experiences with the paranormal phenomena?
Oh, yes. I have. There's no way you can work there and not have an experience. Well, for as many years as I have, because some people come up and they've never had an experience, but I have. So my experiences with her have been, I'm going through my brain here because what other people sort of classify, if you're new to the situation, you're like, oh God, I just had an experience. And I'm like, oh, that's just like everyday occurrence for us. Because we kind of get used to her popping up here and there. I have seen her one time. Well, maybe it's been actually more than that. No, I've seen her a couple times. But one of my, this was really fun. We had a really fun evening tour. I think it was around Halloween time too, to make it extra spooky. And there was a group of us upstairs in the museum doing a night tour. We occasionally do night tours. Mostly they're daytime tours when the cruise ships are in town and we have lots of tourists coming through, and we do the tours. We don't do winter tours because the building is not well insulated and it's very cold up there. The wind literally comes through the walls.
Mm.
So we were up there on a tour. One of my coworkers was giving us, telling stories, She was sharing stories that she doesn't normally share. And while she was talking about Lydia, we were standing in the main first room that you walk into, which is basically 2 rooms and open to the hallway because we took out a bunch of walls were taken out up there. And I was standing where I could see down the long hallway, and I saw her walk from one side, so a room on one side of the hallway, across the hallway to the room on the other side of the hallway. And then I peeked around the wall to see if I could see her in that room, and I didn't. The walls are very thin. Also, they were not built the way they are now. They were literally 1-inch wood. The walls that are up there are mostly the original walls. They milled wood correctly to 1 inch. Now a 1-inch piece is 3/4 of an inch. But anyway, so the walls are very thin. Wow. So I saw Lydia. Didn't freak me out because she's Lydia and she was not threatening or anything like that, but it was really nice to be able to actually see her. She has on occasion surprised me. For example, I never work with headphones up there. A lot of people do, but I like to hear what's happening around me, and I get spooked kind of easily. And so I don't want to be startled, because I work in a haunted building. So I was up there dusting or something. I think I was dusting. Yeah, I was cleaning up, working in the museum, and I heard somebody walk up behind me, and so I turned around and there was nobody there. Oh. And I'm upstairs by myself. And there has been a time or two where I've been up there working and I hear my name and there's nobody there.
Oh, wow.
But one of her favorite things to do to me, I just love this. She does this, a couple times a year, not a couple times a year. It's happened to me a couple of times. But when I first started doing the museum curation stuff, and I was trying to conserve some of the wallpaper that came off the walls, and so I had done them up, took some of the nicer pieces and done them up in frames to mount them on the wall, to hang them on the wall. Pardon me. Just to give people an idea of the different layers of wallpaper that were found in the brothel. Because one of the things that we think happened was a madam would entice a girl to come and work for her at the Red Onion by saying, "Hey, come work for me and you can re-wallpaper your room." We found up to 18 layers in one of the rooms. So that's a lot of wallpapering going on in a 2-year period. It was only open as a brothel for 2 years.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
That's a lot of transition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't even imagine the amount of people that went through there back then. I mean, right. I know how many go through there today. It's a lot. So, now, yes, that's what I was doing. I was hanging these pieces of wallpaper in frames. So some of the frames were big and awkward, and I'm up on a ladder, which on the best day I'm precarious on a ladder. and my coworker was helping me, just kind of holding the ladder, and I'm up there, and all of a sudden, my back, all the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and my back of my body just gets ice cold.
Mm.
And I was like, I kind of froze. And my coworker looks at me and she goes, "Oh yeah, Lydia's standing right behind you." I'm like, "What? Could you have her help me?" Because I'm trying not to fall off the ladder with this big framed piece of wallpaper. I was like, "Okay, hi Lydia." I think that was my first couple of weeks working up there. It was my
wow.
first couple of weeks. That was like my first year of working with her. That was
That's
my introduction
crazy.
to Lydia. She's like, "Hi, I'm here."
Just letting you know.
Yeah. So, that's another thing is and we tell everybody this, when you walk into the brothel every morning, the first time you walk into that brothel, you need to say good morning. You say good morning
Yeah.
to Lydia, or I just do a general good morning to anybody who's here. Because if you don't, they tend to start messing with you.
Yeah.
We had, which is always fun, we had this piece of, so the building's been a lot of things over the years, and we have artifacts from the gold rush, but then also from some of its other incarnations. And at one point, there was a 1950s bra found up there, red, beautiful, beautiful 1950s bra. So we had it on display, and it's been on display for years at this point. And I came in, it's hanging, it was hanging in a place. And I came in and I was like, "Where is the bra?" And I asked my coworkers, and this is my first experience with this. And I was like, "Where did this bra go?" And we could not find it. And I searched every single inch of that brothel. I looked under things, I looked in the cabinets, I looked behind stuff, I looked everywhere. Nobody had seen this bra. They don't know what had happened to it, whatever. Years. It was about 3 years this bra was missing. And then one day my coworker was like, "Hey, I just found that bra. What are you talking about? And where was it?" And it was put in this, we have this laundry piece from when it was a dry cleaner at some point in its history. And it was shoved in there. And I said to her, I was like, "I have looked in there, I don't know, 100 times, and it has never been there." And
Oh,
it
wow.
doesn't move. So it's like a spot that you would just have to see it.
Yeah.
And so at this point, we kind of figured out that Lydia is a bit of a poltergeist. She likes to, well, I don't know if that's the correct term. She is a ghost that likes to move stuff and hide
Yeah.
things. Her favorite is to hide things. And people not lose stuff. They misplace things every year, various people that work at the Red Onion. And then I've gone in where something's been missing, and I'm like, "Okay, Lydia, I really need that, whatever it is. Can you please bring it back?" And then within a couple days, there it is in a spot I've looked 100 times, and there it is. I don't know what she does with the stuff, but she has a stash somewhere and then brings it back.
That's amazing.
That was awesome.
It's one of the things. I mean, it must get boring being a ghost, so maybe it just brings her lots of joy and fun to see people searching for things. I don't know.
I think that's probably what I would do if I was a ghost. I'd be hiding people's stuff.
Right, you got to mess with people.
Absolutely. Got to have fun.
Right, and it's always like weird stuff too, like that you would. I can't even think of other stuff that's gone missing. But it's always, and I'm not a person that loses things, so when I do, it really bothers me, and I think Lydia likes to, mess with me in that way, and it usually happens in the spring. I think it usually happens in the spring when I come back, and she's like, "Oh, hey, you haven't been around for a while. I'm gonna hide
Just
some
saying
things on you.
hi.
Thanks." Yeah, just saying hi. She has Let's see what else. She's done a lot of different things. The blowing up the vacuum is one of my favorites. Oh, here's here's a good story. So we had a guy that was working up there doing some stuff, and he always played like hip hop and rap music.
Mm-hmm.
And Lydia started messing with him. She would move his stuff, hide his stuff, slam doors, scare him, do things like that. And I said to him, he's like, well, change your music. She doesn't like that kind of music. He's like, what does she like? I said, I don't know, try some rock. And he did, and she stopped messing with him. Turns out she likes rock music.
That's so
cool.
funny.
It was pretty awesome. I was like, oh, well, there we go. Let's see what else. She has been known to rattle things. There was an incident. This is a coworker of mine when I first started who was skeptical of ghosts. She didn't believe in them, and she loved to play pranks on her other coworkers. She loved to try and scare them. It was awesome. And I say that facetiously. So she was giving a tour one day, and she was in our last room, we call it the madam's room. And she was kind of wrapping up her tour. And this is where the room we talk about Lydia in. And as she starts talking about Lydia, at this point, there was a small travel-sized bed frame. So back at that time, a lot of bed frames were, with the metal. And so the girls, we happened to have one that was left in the building, and they're really, really narrow. And from what we understand, they would take their bed frames and travel to the next gold rush. They've always had a place to work. So we had the small bed frame on the wall, just the headboard or footboard, one of the two. And it was just hanging there. And my coworker had looked over at that time, and she saw it go up 90 degrees and then just smack against the wall 3 times and then just kind of rattle there. And she thought this was great. She thought it was one of her coworkers playing a joke on her. So she went over looking for like strings or somebody who's, pranking her or anything. There was absolutely nothing that could have made this move. And she was like, okay, thanks very much, folks. Tour's over. I'm out of here. And so she got out of there. She was probably the first one out the door. So she got out of there. And then later in that day, there was 2 coworkers, changing out of their costumes, because the girls wear costumes so they can be identified as the tour guide. And also it's fun. And so they were changing back into their regular clothes in the dressing room. And there was we have these, what we used to, it's not what we do anymore, but we had these cardboard pieces with garters around them, because every guest that came to the brothel would get a garter to identify that you'd been at the Red Onion Saloon. It was really fun. And they were stacked up on these cardboard sleeves, and we'd stack them on this shelf, I don't know, 8 high kind of thing. And the girls were in there changing, and all of a sudden these started flying off the shelf at them, like not just like falling, but flying at them. And they were like, okay. They grabbed their clothes and got out of there.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's wild. What do you think? Do you think that was Lydia?
Yeah, I do. Probably something that they did or didn't do. And she was like, hey, pay attention. This was early on when we started doing tours. And so we didn't have all the guides' experiences from, how to respond to the ghost and how to, at that point, we weren't saying good morning to Lydia every morning.
Oh, okay.
And it was shortly after that I was like, hey, if you want to have a happy day, say good morning. And she doesn't let it make herself be known to everybody. Like, there's one guy who's worked at the Red Onion for years who he has still not had a Lydia experience that he acknowledges,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes any sense. So she picks who she appears or lets, that she messes with, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's really funny that way. Let's see, what else can I tell you about her? We have a safe downstairs. It's an old safe, antique safe. It's very persnickety. If you don't do it just right, that thing will not open. And I had a coworker who, that was her job. She opened that safe 100 times a day. Well, not quite, but she opened it, a couple times a day. So she was very good at getting in and out of it. And she had walked into the building. It was early, and she forgot to say good morning to Lydia. And this is not upstairs in the brothel. This is just in the building. And the minute she said, "Oh, good morning, Lydia," the safe clicked open.
What?
Yes.
That's crazy.
And this has happened to multiple people. That same thing.
That's wild. I want to work there.
It's really fun. It's a lot of work, but it's really fun.
Sounds like it.
Now, is Lydia the only spirit that you guys believe to be there?
No, we've been told throughout the years there are multiples. We don't know who they are. There is one that we do know about, but I'm not going to talk about him.
Yeah, that's okay.
Because okay, awesome, thank you. So like I said, we have psychics and stuff that come up, and mediums who come on tour, and inevitably every year there's one of the guides is told, like, "Hey, you've got so and so standing behind you," or "Hey, you've got this person standing behind you," or they describe somebody who's not Lydia. Like I had that one time when I was a tour guide. I had this lady tell me that, "Oh, you've got blah blah blah," describe this woman standing behind me, and I'm like, "Oh, well, that's not Lydia, so who would that be?" I don't know who it was, but she was there.
That's wild.
So that does happen a lot. Yeah, and they're not just confined to upstairs. Skagway's got a lot of haunted buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And there's various theories about why. So, yeah, the ghosts they're not just upstairs in the building. Like, they're downstairs. There have been Lydia sightings downstairs in the saloon. Today we don't operate as I say we don't operate as a dance hall, but sometimes when there's a band, the tables are cleared and we dance the night away. But during the day, it's a saloon. It's a bar and restaurant.
Yeah.
Which is really fun. And there's a photo that, so back, before digital photography, there was a photo that was taken of a coworker. He was standing behind the bar. He was a bartender, and there is Lydia standing behind him.
Oh, that gave me chills.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that somewhere that we can see?
Clueless. No, because this was back in film times when we don't have the negative and nobody digitized a copy of it. If I can find it, I know somebody's got a copy of it somewhere. And then I also had a lady, and this one I actually might have. So I had a guest come on tour, and she had her young son was with her. A young son, I mean, he was maybe 12, something like that. So it's at parents' discretion if they want to bring their kids upstairs into the museum. And afterwards, she asked me to. She was asking, back then we had a little bit more time, and I was able to talk with her a little bit. She was asking about where Lydia had hung herself. So I took her back over there with her son, and we were talking, and we were just kind of talking. And on the wall, I had historical garments hanging, and the garments started moving, and the little boy, God, he was so cute. He was like, "Mom," his eyes were huge, and he was pointing at these clothes moving on the wall. And I was like, "Oh, honey, it's okay. It's just the wind," because, the walls are really thin. It was not the wind. It was not a windy day that day. So she took a picture, and off they went. And a week later, I get this phone call. She's like, "Did you see the picture I sent you?" And I said, "Well, no." And so I went upstairs and checked my email, and there was the picture. And she's like, "Do you see Lydia?" I was like, "No," but that's when I saw this male ghost. And then I saw Lydia, and I was like, "Oh my God, you got a picture of Lydia." So it was Lydia moving the costumes that the little boy got freaked out about.
Oh my gosh.
Or the
Is
pieces. It was really cool.
the picture, is it is Lydia like an apparition, like a full body apparition?
No, it's just kind of her head and her shoulders, and she's kind of up on the wall.
Oh,
And
okay.
she's not hanging, and she's not standing. She's kind of there, which is a weird spot for her to be.
Yeah.
But there she was. I was like, "Oh."
Um
And then go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna ask before we moved on, if you wouldn't mind, do you think maybe you could share that picture with us? We could post it on our Facebook page.
Yes, if I can find it.
Okay.
That'd be awesome.
That is always the issue. If I can find it.
Okay.
If you don't hear, and because I feel like it's on our. So that's the other thing. Like digitally, we have these things. We have a file. We put them in, and then sometimes they disappear. It's so weird. And I don't know. We're all pretty good about, and by all I mean those of us that have worked there forever. We kind of keep it all together, but sometimes the pictures just disappear. I don't understand it. We did have a guest. This was really freaky. It gave me chills. So we had a guest send us, we have guests send us pictures all the time. They're like, "Hey, is this Lydia?" Like lots of orb pictures, which the orbs, those are easily explained away. And we do have a spot where it's a hole in the wall and the light comes through and it looks like an orb on a picture. So that's always my favorite. I'm like, "Oh no, that's the hole in the wall." Oh my gosh, I'm remembering all these things now. So we had, this was, I don't know, the pandemic throws off my timeline because we were not operating at that time. I think it was pre-pandemic. This guy or this person sent a picture, and he's like, "Is this a ghost?" And it was the most, I'm getting chills just talking about it, the eeriest picture I have ever seen. Like all of us in the office were just like, "Oh, freaked out. Never seen this image before, this person before." "Oh, kitten." She just scared me talking about this. Honey, oh goodness. It was so creepy, this picture. And my coworkers and I, we went up into the brothel. We tried to see like what angle the picture, because it was taken into a mirror. And so the angle of the picture that the person would have had to been standing, and like, is this actually an apparition, or is this somebody who just caught a reflection of somebody else in a mirror? And we could not figure it out at all. Like there was no way that this was an angle of somebody in a mirror. It was so weird. I've got chill. I got chills just thinking about this. So that one was really creepy. Don't know who this person was. No idea. Never seen her before. Hope I never see her again. And then we do have a picture of a tour guide talking. Well, actually, we've got several pictures of tour guides talking. And as they're talking, you see this smoky form near them or in front of them.
Oh wow.
Which is really interesting. But it's usually like, it's never like a full form. It's just like the outline, and it's usually kind of little. We have been told there are kids, like children ghosts. And on one podcast I did, they heard in the background after editing, they heard a child, like a baby crying, and it was really early in the morning, and there was nobody around. Like I was alone in the building and on the street. So hearing like, where did this come from? And that was the first that I had learned about the potential of a baby being around there. I have heard about kids and stuff like that. So people tell us all kinds of things because everybody experiences something different.
Now, why do you think kid spirits would be there and baby spirits?
Well, I'm guessing they died in the building or on the land. So the Red Onion, where it's currently located, is not the original location of it. It was moved there in 1914. So whatever was on that land prior to it being moved, perhaps there were children who passed. Also, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. Also, like I said before, is that the ghosts seem to kind of transition through town. Like they're not always present. They kind of come and go, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't always know that it's the same one. I
That makes sense.
I don't have an explanation for it. Yeah, and I don't.
No, that makes sense.
I don't dive. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that definitely makes sense. Since it's not the same location, it was moved. It could have been spirits there before it was moved. So that makes sense to me.
Okay. I don't really look into it because it freaks me out. So you guys, I'm sure, know more about ghost stuff than I do. I just happen to be a person who experiences it once in a while.
Yeah. And those experiences are interesting, though. Does the Red Onion Saloon do anything, like as far as like events or anything to kind of to embrace the paranormal activity that you guys got going on there, aside from the tours?
Well, we do occasionally host, ghost hunters and things like that. But it really depends on, like, we can't do that for everybody.
Right.
Because there's a lot of logistics involved with that. But no, we don't do anything beyond the tours. People who have seen the shows or heard the podcast will definitely make a point of coming on the tour when they do come to town, because we do offer multiple tours throughout the day. But we are only open for 6 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does that answer the question a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think if I had any more. I kind of went through all the list of questions that I had. Luke, did you have any other questions? I'm not sure what happened to your audio, man. Luke, you lost audio.
Luke, I was like,
yeah, sorry.
baby crying in the background.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you feel about the paranormal before you started working at the Red Onion Saloon?
You mean like whether I believed in it or not?
Yeah. Do you believe in the paranormal or whatnot?
I did. I do. Yes, I have for a while. I've had other experiences not living in Skagway. So that, yeah. So I had other experiences prior to me living in Skagway. I did not move to Skagway because of the haunted situation. That was something. It was job and just the beauty and all that amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did have other experiences prior to. I tried to keep them to a minimum because it freaks me out. And back then, 30 years ago, you didn't talk about it like you do now. Like there are so many ghost shows and podcasts and things like that, and it's becoming a little bit more normalized, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
back then, it was like, oh yeah, I see ghosts. Yeah, there was some stuff that happens to people who talk about those things. It sounds like the Dark Ages, but it really, my experience was to minimize it, essentially.
Yeah.
Now, we can talk about it. It's fine. You just get hate mail occasionally. That's fine.
Every now and again. That's okay. You just gotta
Every now and again. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The haters are going to be haters. The rest of us don't have to be.
That's it. Well, I don't think I have any more questions. We really appreciate you coming on and telling us the history and talking about Lydia. Like, this is great. I really enjoyed this.
Awesome. My pleasure.
Yeah.
And if you guys do want to do more, like when I get there, just let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be amazing.
I agree.
I could even just take you on a tour and talk about it and see if anything pops up.
Okay. Did you have a time frame that maybe we can try to shoot for? Or would you rather maybe try to schedule something closer to whenever you start going back?
Well, I am going to be back there on April 17th, and I should be there until the beginning of May. So it would be easier. I know you guys have got tight flexibility or tight scheduling too. So we could tentatively schedule something. Let's see, what day is that? Oh, wait, I'm in the wrong month. That's not helpful. I'm trying to do that. So maybe April 21st. April 21st would work because I'll have the museum open as far as not for tours, but for training. And I can then take you through. I can take you through either the 20th or the 21st, and the tour guides will have a day off, so they won't be around.
The 20th would probably be best.
The 20th?
Yeah, because we already got 2 podcasts scheduled on the 21st, so we only have one.
Okay.
And that is at 8 a.m. our time. So if you can do it maybe around the same time as we did today, that could probably work.
Yeah. Oh, sure. I don't mind. Yeah, that should be. I should be able to get up and do all those things.
I mean, if not, we could do it later on in the day.
Would it be okay to do it around 9? So 9 my time, 1 your time. So just an hour later than today?
Yeah, that should work.
Yeah, that should be fine. What is the 20th? Is that a Saturday?
Yeah.
It's a Saturday.
Okay, yeah.
That I could definitely get to on time.
Cool.
8 might be pushing it.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll work better for us too, I think, because then we'll have a little bit more time in between podcasts.
Okay.
But yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Is there anything that you maybe wanted to add, plug, or anything like that? Socials or events or anything?
When you're in Skagway, come to the Red Onion Saloon. It's a great time.
I would love to go. That would be so cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
It is. The whole town is super. It's a charming, interesting place.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. It's so beautiful.
I enjoy the history.
Well, then that would be the place for you to go because there is so much history.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Well, all right, Cori. Well, again, thank you for coming on and spending time with us talking about this. And we won't hold you up any longer. And you have a great day.
My pleasure, you guys. And you too.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see you in April.
Sounds good. See you then.
Okay. Have a great day.
You too.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow.
That would be crazy to do like a live
That would be,
walkthrough.
dude, that would be so freaking cool. Cori's really cool, dude. I really enjoyed talking to her.
Yeah, me too. She was cool.
I would love to go to the Red Onion Saloon and do a little poking around.
Definitely. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Exploring DNA. We really enjoyed talking to Cori today. We had a lot of cool experiences, and she was fun to talk to. If you want to go follow us on all social medias, it's Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. I'm missing something. Instagram. So go give us a follow and a share, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add?
I don't think so. I think we covered it all. This was a really good interview. Cori was great. The Red Onion Saloon sounds really interesting. I hope one day we might be able to go and take a tour. Maybe get some food. It'll be cool.
Oh, and September 6th and 7th we'll be at a conference, Bigfoot conference, as vendors, setting up our equipment and recording some podcasts.
Yeah.
So if you want to see us there, go to the website. We post it on Facebook, and it pays $50 for a weekend, and you'll be able to see us there.
Yeah, stop on down and hang out. We'll have a chit chat, and it'll be good.
So let's get your what's it called today? Your question.
Yeah, we're gonna do things differently today. Luke's gonna give me the question.
So you wake up in a small, deserted town with no memory on how you're there, how you got there. You explore, and you realize the town is frozen in time, and shadowy figures seem to watch you from the corners. What's your first move?
Oh. Ooh. Okay, so I wake up in this town and I don't know how I got here. I'm an explorer, right?
It doesn't really say if you're an explorer. It says you explore. Yeah, so I guess you are an explorer.
Okay, so I don't know. I think waking up in a deserted town, not knowing where I'm at or how I got here, I think first thing I'm gonna do is try to figure out where I'm at.
And time is frozen, and you see shadowy figures watching you from the corners.
I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I would like to say that I would probably try to. How do I know time's frozen?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I think given the circumstances, I don't know that I would know that time is frozen unless like birds are like half like mid-flight, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just in the air. I would probably freak out. First have a mini panic attack and then die. Yep, that's what I would do. What would you do?
I try to probably figure out where I'm at.
Yeah.
Walk around and see where the hell am I, and be like, what can I do to get out of this place?
Yeah, I think I would probably do something similar before I die. Hopefully I don't die. We'll just go with your answer.
Thank you again for listening, and we will see you next week on the next episode.
Sounds good. Have a great day, guys.
See ya.